The Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra is the MVP of Android phones for 2022. And we're about halfway through 2022 right now, and that's still holding strong. And in fact, the only real competition I think Samsung has this fall is its own phones with the foldables. Of course, we're going to have the Pixel 7, the Pixel 7 Pro, but I don't think that they're going to be quite on the same level either because the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro definitely aren't. And it's funny, and when we talk about MVP, that's for a reason. Because when you look at sports, MVP is not just the person who scores the most points, not just the person who gets the most rebounds, not the person who gets the most home runs. It's the best across the board. And I think we can make that argument for this phone with the S22 Ultra because it basically beats every other phone in almost every single category. And if not every single category, almost every single category. And the only two that it really falls short in, and we could even throw a third one out there if you really want to go there. The three areas that the S22 Ultra doesn't beat everything is charging speed. So it doesn't have 100-watt charging. It doesn't have 80-watt charging. It doesn't have any of that stuff to compete with some of the other super fast charging. And it doesn't have SD card storage, which I think is absolutely essential for a multitasking phone like this that has an S Pen that's designed to get work done, but that's a whole other philosophical conversation. And it doesn't have a headphone jack, which we could argue is probably still a top tier premium feature if you want to listen to stuff like LDAC and hi-fi on your phone. So those are really the only areas this phone falls short. Everywhere else, it beats all the competition, at least in my mind, because it has the best screen out on the market. This right here, the S22 Ultra, I think is the best screen on any phone, even better than the iPhones. This is the best screen when it comes to smartphones in 2022 so far, and I don't think it's going to get beat. It also has the best fingerprint sensor, and you might not even think fingerprint sensor is the biggest thing in the world, but when you have a fantastic, quick, reliable, highly secure biometric ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, as opposed to something like the optical fingerprint sensor on the OnePlus 9 Pro or on the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, which has been abysmal up until the point that it got fixed, and it's still wishy-washy sometimes. So, yes, I think in the fingerprint department, it definitely has everybody beat, but the screen, it has everybody beat. Whenever it comes to the power, Snapdragon 8 Generation 1, that's the best you can get right now. And yes, there are other phones that are coming out with it, but this is the first one that hit mainstream in the US with it for flagships, and it's carrying us through the rest of the year. So it's at least equal to anything that's out there on the market right now. So power, good. RAM, you can start at 8, which I'm not really crazy about. I really feel like was a marketing gimmick to try and upsell people. I still hold true to that, but if you get the 256 model, you get 12 gigabytes RAM, which I think is probably a good idea anyway, because 128 with the phone like this just is not enough storage space for most people, unless you're not using it for the purpose that this phone was intended for, like recording 8K video, 4K video, playing a lot of big games and stuff like that. I argue this is the best gaming phone out on the market, and we haven't even seen a new Republic of Gaming phone. I'm wondering if Asus is going to get around to that. A lot of people kind of think the Asus Republic of Gaming phones are the best gaming phones. This one right here, I think, takes the cake. And why do I say that? Because it has the best support. When it comes to apps, I had bought the Asus Republic of Gaming 5 phone this last year, and even though it was supposed to have a better refresh rate and all that other great stuff, none of the apps supported it. You couldn't play it at the higher refresh rate. You couldn't play it at the higher frames per second. You know what you could? This one right here. And that's why I was so upset with the Republic of Gaming Phone 5 last year, because I liked it so much. And then I was having to play all these games on 30 frames per second and 60 hertz because none of the games supported the higher refresh rate of the frame rate. So Samsung gets the best support too. And they're even taking Google's lunch. They're taking Google's lunch on software updates with their own software. So normally you could say Google is the best and the most reliable when it comes to software and getting updates out. These guys right here, Samsung, are putting out more updates. They're updating and patching things faster. They're more reliable. And you get an extra year of operating system updates over Google. Google offers 3 years operating system, 5-year security patches. This phone right here, 4 years of operating system updates and 5 years of security patches. And then they offer something that no other flagship in the Android world does, the S Pen. And it's the best in class stylus you can get. This is the best stylus you can get in the Samsung Android world, period. Much less with the phone, and it's included into the phone. They didn't raise prices this year, which I was happy about. But at the same point in time, they dumbed down the 128 model and gave you 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, and no SD card, and no power brick. So I really feel like that should have probably been like $10.99, really you're still going to have to pay $12.99 to get, I think, what is the best version for most people, the 256 with the 12 gigs of RAM and the 256 storage. So everything else in this phone, though, you get the IP68 dust and water resistance, you get wireless charging, reverse wireless charging, you get 45-watt wired charging, which is pretty darn good. It gets things recharged quick, fast, in a hurry. It's reliable. And then the cameras. These cameras are unreal. Not only do you get a fantastic primary camera, this has the best selfie camera out of any phone that I've touched in the last year, especially this year so far. So best selfie camera, best video on selfie camera, I think. I think it's even more competitive than the one on the iPhone, which is what I use to record my videos with, which I'm recording them with right now because it doesn't have the yellowing and the HDR problems that the iPhone does. And then it doesn't have as serious a problem with the lens flare on the back end. But in addition to getting a fantastic primary camera, 108 megapixel camera, you get a fantastic ultra wide. You can also do the macro lens photography, up close and personal National Geographic shots, which I personally love, especially when you get a good camera to do it. And then you get the 100 times zoom. And the 100 times zoom, and I'm sorry, I've even got the Honor Magic 4 Pro. It's got 100 times zoom as well. It is not as good as this. This one, so I kind of thought it was gimmicky when it first came out in the S20 Ultra, and I think a lot of people did too. You basically couldn't even use it unless it was on a tripod and get any sort of a clear picture. They've made some whirlwind improvements on this thing over just the last 2 generations. It's top notch. It works really well, and I've really enjoyed using it. So I think it's got the best cameras in the Android department. I think that it's got of course, you got the stylus. You've got a 5,000 milliamp battery, which is competitive with any other flagship that's out there because they all have 5,000 or less. Yes, we could talk about battery life, but pretty much any of the flagship phones that I've run into don't have the most amazing battery life. So that's just one of those things. Whenever you're running a workhorse like this, you got 120 hertz refresh rate, Quad HD Plus resolution, 12 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon 8 Generation 1, stereo speakers that actually crank out some volume. There's so much stuff going on that's being powered by that 5,000 milliamp power plant. Yeah, realistically, the battery when it's under load is not going to last you 10, 12 hours. And unfortunately, they haven't found a way to compete with Apple in that regard yet. I hope they can find a way one day because the iPhone 13 Pro, iPhone 13 Pro Max run circles around any flagship Android phone in the battery department. But this one, amazing phone, beautiful, and it basically checks every box for a flagship phone, other than those things I mentioned earlier, like the headphone jack and the SD card and some of that stuff. But the phone, I think, is top-notch, and also the price and availability. That's another thing. And when you talk about other phones, you can say, okay, yes, you can get the OnePlus 10 Pro, and they've even got a model coming out that's now going to support 5G here in the US. It's going to have 12 gigs of RAM, all that good stuff, 900 and something bucks. But you're going to be hard-pressed to find it, and you're going to be hard-pressed to want to buy it because you're not going to get as much support, you're not going to get all the features, and you're pretty much going to have to pony up the money for it. That's the same thing with the Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. You got to pony up the money for it. It's going to be $15.99 here in the US when it drops on September 1st. Even the Pixel 6 Pro, yes, it's $8.99. It's on sale right now for Father's Day for $7.99, which is a good deal. I think it's a fantastic deal for the phone, actually. I love the phone a lot, but it's not as complete of a phone as this one. It's a good option. It's a good alternative, but whenever you kind of stratify and rank things, this one still is a more complete, better package, and they've got tremendous sales on it all the time. They had great trade-in deals when it first came out. You could trade in up to 3 phones for this to lower the price on it. And they had the extra credit, their reservation credit, the extra freebie stuff. It was crazy. But then you look down the road, I thought we had a pretty amazing deal with the Mother's Day sale we had recently. And then they blew that one out of the water with the Father's Day sale. You could trade in an S21 Ultra for this and get $1,000 trade-in credit. And they dropped more money off the price, like $125. If you were to trade in your S21 Ultra to Samsung, you can get it unlocked, no carrier commitment, for like $75, which is completely unreal. No one else is offering anything like that. So that's really cool. And in fact, if you've got an S21 Ultra with a cracked screen, they'll also still give you $1,000 trade-in credit, which is completely mind-blowing. So yeah, it's really weird. And also there's links in the description. If you're curious about that, you can go directly to Samsung there with the affiliate link and check it out. And also to help support the channel if you buy it through the link. Of course, you don't have to whatsoever. Not trying to sell you one either. But if you want to save some money on it right now, prior to Father's Day, they've got some crazy good deals. I actually made a specific dedicated video about it because the deal is so crazy. So that's why I say it's the MVP. This is like the Michael Jordan of phones in the 90s because he was a defensive leader. He was great in defense. He was great on stealing the ball. He was great on offense. Of course, he's the most prolific basketball player probably of just about all time. I know you could argue Wilt Chamberlain, you could argue Jerry West, you could you could argue Kobe Bryant. Some people could argue LeBron James. You know, there's a lot of great ones, but universally, I think a lot of people will gravitate towards, if you say, okay, who's the best? Most people kind of say Michael Jordan, and I think he had the most all-time MVP awards as well, which is kind of funny because it always felt like if somebody else got the MVP, they were giving it to him just so Michael Jordan couldn't get it again. But I think this one legitimately deserves it. It's like the Tom Brady or the Michael Jordan of Android phones right now. And love them, like them, hate them, respect them, whatever. As a reviewer, as a practical person, as somebody who uses all these phones, it's really hard to go wrong with this one. And you can like other phones, and you can want to use other phones. I love my Surface Duo 2. I like to carry it around. I love my Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. I love my Pixel 6 Pro. There's nothing wrong with those phones. And this video is not a way of saying those phones are not good phones to own. If you want to get one, go for it. Get whatever makes you happy. There's Lamborghinis, there's Bentleys, there's Fords, there's Chevys. There's so many different cars out there, and that's a good analogy because when it comes to phones, it's great when we have options, but sometimes there's just something that's a really good deal and it just beats everything. And if that's where you want to spend your money, this right here kind of does it. But some people might say, well, I want an SD card. Well, don't buy the phone. Or some people might want a headphone jack. Well, this one might not be the one for you. There are other phones that you can recommend for people who have tailored needs. But if you don't care about some of that stuff and you just want the best, and you want to probably get the best deal and value, longest supported, phenomenal experience, then that's why I call this one the MVP, because it beats everything in the most categories. Maybe not every category, but it beats pretty much everything in the most categories, and that makes it the most valuable phone when it comes to the Android world. So that's all I got. Just wanted to share that with you. What do you think? Do you think that this is the best phone that you can get on the market right now? It makes it kind of hard to compare other phones because other phones fall short in different areas when you stack them up against this one. Again, doesn't mean they're not good. My SIM card's in my Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV right now, not this. So that doesn't mean that it's the perfect phone for everybody. But across the board, I think it's the best. So that's all I got. If you have any questions or comments, please go down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.